Hello everyone. It's nice to see you. After all these, actually it's been a couple of months now, and for a lot of you it's just been hearing my voice, seeing my hand as we write on the notes. So we had a few things to discuss. Definitely need to talk a little bit about the work, what is reasonable work. We're having a bit of an issue there, but also thought this would be a good opportunity to give a few updates and get a chance to, again, almost have a little bit of a chat and get to see me again. So up to this point, I feel like everything has been going well. I've been getting a lot of positive feedback, but we still have a couple of issues. But before I get into that, let's just take a moment to discuss where we are and what's left. We're basically 2/3 of the way through the semester, so we've got 1/3 left to go. But even though it's only 1/3 of the class left to go, with respect to our grade, we do have about half left. We have our second quiz, either depending on exactly when you watch this, you're either about to take that or you just finished that. But the second quiz, we still have a third test and a third quiz. All that is going to come from chapter 11. The test is a 100-point test. The second quiz that we just had or about to have is a short one. The third quiz is a little bit longer. It's more like a 60-point quiz typically. But still, those two items left. They're pretty big. Chapter 11, I'll talk a little bit more about it. If you've started to watch some of those videos, it's different. It's not necessarily harder, it's just a little bit different compared to what most students are used to up to this point. But for chapter 11, those two graded items are still worth a good chunk, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. In addition, we still have our maple chunk. That's 10% of our grade. I've been going through our options, and to be quite honest, I don't really like any of them. So you're going to be getting the full 10 out of 10 points. I'll be passing along some sort of like a manual, a little guide to help you with Maple, but we're not going to have any actual meeting. It's just no good logistical way to make that work, especially since even with some of the options to try and share Maple through online services, I just still don't like the way it works. So that's going to be a nice little boost. But you also have the cumulative final exam. So like I said, test, quiz, final, that's still about half your grade left to go. For a lot of you who are doing well, let's just make sure we keep it up. And for those of you who maybe aren't so thrilled, there's still a good opportunity to swing your grade in a different direction. But if you've been doing well, I do warn you, chapter 11 is a bit tougher. There are some people who kind of hit this point in the semester and start going on a little bit of like cruise control, and they get slammed by chapter 11. So like I said, to be ready, to be forewarned. It's just a little different compared to a lot of the other work that you've done in math, in calculus. So just to be ready to make sure you're getting into the videos and on the right track. So that's like kind of our overall updates, where we stand, what we have left. Now let's talk about reasonable work. We continue to have issues with this. Now, some of the issue, a couple of you get a little note, a little point off here and there. It's not a huge deal. It would be nice to see a little bit more. Because remember everybody, if we were taking an exam in person, I wouldn't care how many steps you do in your head, how much you would prefer to write out, because I know you're there, you're working right in front of me, I know it's your work. But with these circumstances, with take-home exams, that's the little extra part of the burden that I'm putting on you. You need to show me some work. So sometimes, even if you might skip that step, you got to show it to me. And the second thing is the work you show me has to make sense with the rest of the problem. I've caught a few people with some silly little mistakes at the beginning, but all of a sudden they've got the right answer at the end. Let's just say that's highly suspicious as to what actually happened in that problem. So some of you, it's just a very little thing. It's just a little recognizing that because it's take home, you may have to just write out just a tad bit more. And just again, to make sure you're showing me reasonable work. Again, I'll come back to chapter 11 in just a moment, but just sticking with that, that's not the end of the issue. Others, you're losing lots and lots of points because of this. And sometimes it's just such a combination of things. Sometimes it's literally no work and an answer. And as we keep saying, you have to show me work. Other times, not to get too specific, but it's kind of like someone taking 4 lines to show me that 4 + 2 = 6. But then all of a sudden, solving a really difficult integral with substitutions and cleanup and all these other things in 1 line. And it's all done in one problem. So like I said, that once again, that's very suspicious. I know outside resources are allowed, but you still have to be able to show some work and show you understand. And I think that's probably part of the issue there. So, what is reasonable work? The basic thing is that if you're watching the videos, it's completely obvious because I'm always bringing it up. I'm always letting you know. If you're not watching the videos, well, that's an entirely separate problem. And that's it. That's all it is. It's a completely separate issue, and you need to be watching the videos. Particularly in chapter 11, everybody. Up to this point, again, depending on our backgrounds, there are some people who took AP Calculus, and up until about, I don't know, a good chunk of chapter 7, they still have some experience with. You move to chapter 11, as I said in the email, a couple of people, maybe through some other classes, like something in high school, maybe a computer programming class, you have a little bit of experience with respect, but it's not enough. And especially when you look at what calculus cares about. It's like they're focused on some different aspects compared to some of those other classes. So that's something to keep in mind. Another big part, convergence, divergence. You've already seen that come up in 7.8. It comes up all the time in chapter 11. Sorry, I'm just letting the siren pass. So that comes up all the time in chapter 11. Convergence, divergence. The answer by itself is worthless. It's all about the work. Is the work correct? And then secondly, does that work support your answer? I don't quite say that this is proof work, but it's putting us more on that track. It's moving into more of an upper level area of mathematics. It needs experience, it needs practice, and you're going to get that from the videos. You're not going to get that from outside sources. So, wanted to say that, make sure we're following the videos, make sure we're staying on track with chapter 11. I don't want to scare you with it. Like I said in the email, it's not that it's harder, it's just different. And you have to make sure you give yourself the proper time to go through the homework, to go through enough problems to make sure you're ready for that. What is the problem asking? What does it take? And then separately, still if you have little questions about how much is enough, that's fine, we can always ask. And here's the last part, everybody. Because I'm concerned about people not finishing watching the videos, there's actually a little pop quiz here at the end of this video. But all you have to do is just finish watching the video. Send me an email that says Isaac Newton. Isaac Newton, he's one of the founders of calculus. Isaac Newton. Send me an email. As always, right, send who you are, include your name in the class, but send that, and I'm going to give you a 10 out of 10 on this little pop quiz that I'm talking about. There's no problem here. It's simply a pop quiz of did you watch the entirety of the video and did you send me the email with Isaac Newton's name in it. That'll give you a 10 out of 10. For those of you doing well, a 10 out of 10 is just a nice little, extra little points to help support your average, keep you there. If you haven't been doing great, that's actually a nice little boost to get a 10 out of 10. So make sure you send that email, get those points, and let's have a good chapter 11 and a good end of the semester, everybody.